Hey, welcome to the channel. Some of you clicked on this because you're interested in getting into 3D printing. Some of you clicked perhaps for the entertainment value to watch all my failures and laugh at me. Probably a small bit of you, hopefully, is here to kind of give me some advice and help me with some of the failures that I've been getting into. So I got a 3D printer for Christmas. Well, got it for Black Friday sale, and the little bit of the ploy behind that is that I would be able to 3D print some stuff for Christmas presents. It worked. I mean, I got some gifts for some people that I 3D printed, and they loved them. So that was pretty cool. So what I purchased is the anycubic Photon Mono 4 Ultra. So this one, great little printer, lots of detail. Show some examples here in a sec, and just great. Got a good deal on it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the learning curve. Now, as far as what I've been using for resin, has been a lot of the water washable stuff. There's some new versions of it, and that's what kind of got me into all this. I don't want to have just a big old vat of alcohol sitting in my hobby room. I got some other stuff, but didn't really want to deal with that extra smell and the added frustration of kind of the cleanup and everything. And water washable has been great. Just water. Of course, don't put it down the sink. You know, it's still toxic and things like that. Don't drink it. You know, but it's great because I can just, when I run out of water, fill it back up from the sink. And then when it gets dirty, I just have a bucket that I have where I dump it all in and just bring it over to the hazardous waste facility for free, and it's been great. Now, haven't been able to do too much comparison with some of the other stuff. Probably a bit more brittle. Maybe there's a little bit of detail loss, but the details have been quite good with it, so I've been pretty pleased. Gonna eventually try some of the better stuff like the 8K that's a little bit more expensive, and maybe even the 14K. So the first question a lot of you might have, can you just plug and play with 3D printing? Just, throw a file in and boom, the thing pops out something. Yes and no. So if you have files that already have the supports on them, then yeah, I've been able to print some pretty good stuff with just the default settings, and that's kind of how I started out. But if you stay there, you can have pretty good luck. There's going to be some failures and stuff as you get towards the supports. Now, what do I mean by supports? So with supports, you got to have some kind of support structure that it prints on. If you've ever bought some 3D printed accessories, you've kind of noticed that. Now there's a lot of videos to discuss all that, and it's a bit of a beast, to be honest. So there's been some really cool files that I've purchased and started building. However, you gotta kind of do the orientation and the support structure with it. It's not hard, and there's some automatic options that they have in there, but I still have some failures here and there after over a month now. And so it's not very much plug and play like they would say. And as far as aircraft stuff, you might have something like this wheel where it basically is already pre-supported with all that. And you can just print just like so and be great. Some places you'll also have some of the files already pre-supported. Some of this stuff that I've got from Tom Anish, or Ennies for some of you, you can have some stuff like this. So you can have some stuff like this that already has built-in supports with the file, and it makes it really easy. One recommendation that I would have when it comes to supports, try a better software. So this is one of the first things that I made, this Sauron, and it's got some good details, but with the initial software we're using the anycubic stuff, that software not so great. So with that software, they added some artifacts when adding the structure to it. So my recommendation is use better software, and it'll save you some hassle. The stuff that comes with it is a little bit more user intuitive with their interface. So it's kind of good to get your feet wet of a little bit of things on it. But you'll be happy with a better setup. So I had a few issues with the Lychee, but maybe it's just because of what I'm using and something didn't work right one setting, but I had a hard time with it. I've upgraded the Chitu box version. Don't know if that's worth it. A lot of power just based on, the original settings. So that is going to help out. There's a lot of auto orientation. There's a lot of auto supporting, but there's always going to be tweaks. Anytime the computer's doing something auto, not so great. So that's kind of the first thing that you kind of have to learn, orienting and supporting to be able to get it to work right. A few of the other settings that you might get into, especially exposure settings, those can be very beneficial. Do you have to? No. You could print pretty good with default settings, but you're not getting the most out of what your printer can do. So it's not actually very hard. There's a lot of features built into these different software to be able to test out multiple settings all at the same time. With a bigger printer, you could do 8 different settings on one test bed. So this is one that I really liked, is the cones of calibration. So with this, pretty cool. You have a side that's supposed to all the way fail, and then you get into a part where it should have all success. So you put in some beverage, let's say, into this mug, and it should fit, which it did on there. And then the cool part is you have this, which is not going to focus on, this dagger. Put the dagger into the skull, and that will indicate that it worked. And then that same bit, they have a block where you're not supposed to, but I guess this one is, so it's probably a little bit underexposed, but oh well. But it's supposed to be kind of like that, and to where it doesn't go in all the way. So this was really intuitive. It's a little bit thicker. So there are some other ones that you could do that are like thinner and maybe take half an hour to print. And so you get into some exposure settings with that. The other setting that you will play around with is the layer height. So as this is printing, it's printing in layers, right? As it's moving up. And how tall those layers are going to kind of dictate for the most part, your whole quality of your prints. So it'll start out at a 0.05 millimeter, and then you get into something, a lot of these can go down to 0.01, but depending on what I'm printing, some bigger stuff, 0.03 has been perfectly fine for great detail still. But you could get into some things that you want a little bit more detail and get to like a 0.02. So here is an example of one of my first prints that I was able to do, and pretty basic settings, pretty cool. So I think this is where I started getting into at least a 0.03 and then kind of playing with 0.02, and some really good detail. You actually have textures that you have and everything. So a lot of cool stuff there. So to summarize, can you get a printer and start printing stuff on day one? Yeah, technically, and default settings are pretty good, but there's a lot of things to tweak that will either give you better detail or less frustration, like easier to pry off the build plate. Some stuff, initial settings was just way too much, and I basically had to take a chisel at it to get everything off. Not very fun. So there is some stuff to play around with. There are going to be failures. I don't know. There are some people out there, well, I've never had a failure. It's been great. I don't know how. I've got a bin full of failures. I'm going to use as paint mules in the future. But like even last night, I goofed on a few things and it failed. So now it's reprinting again. Now for my next part, I want to talk a little bit about my customer service journey. So first, I ordered all of this from Anycubic's website, and pretty great. You know, the ordering delivery times pretty dang good. But some of the accessories, I'm not sure if I didn't notice, but it was having to be restocked, and pretty much over a month behind. So it's kind of something I think would be good to warn people. So I don't know. Some kind of, at least, say, back order 2 months, some kind of thing like that. Completely lost on there. So I found them on on Amazon. And so I purchased from there some of those. And of course, Amazon has been great for all that other stuff, because pretty much next day shipping for a lot of things. Resin, same day, some situations. So really good. Accessories, pretty fast. So I got what I needed in just pretty much a couple days. So then I needed to cancel that part of the order. And that's where we've gotten our first kerfuffle. So I needed to cancel that order. And they said, oh, well, your order has been delivered, so send us back what you have. No, part of my order was delivered. Part of my order has been waiting to be built, or I guess, I don't know what the exact status of it, I haven't had it. So I had to clarify with them, and then, oh, okay, and then it took a while for that to actually happen. There's a lot of confusion on their part. So, not the greatest. Didn't really understand. No. The part of the order that hasn't been delivered, that's what I want to cancel. Okay? So that took almost like a month, I think, to actually get that process going. And then, I started noticing some artifacts in my printing. And I thought it was me, obviously, right? User error. Usually number one thing that goes wrong with these. So I kept tweaking a few things, and then it got worse. I'm like, well, so I tried changing a few things and this, and then I did just a basic exposure, and it looked okay, and what the heck. And then, finally, I did a full exposure test for the whole bed, and looked at it, not directly, that's bad, but like off at an angle, and kind of use my camera to take a picture. And yeah, LCD screen, complete line out on it, and it was growing. So that means a new screen had to be ordered. So with that, I messaged them and said, hey, this has gone out. I've had it like 40 days. Their warranty, I think, on that particular one is 6 months. So, okay, not bad. Okay, all right. So, eventually, got a quick, that's something that we can take care of. So, I added to it, hey, well, this printer is a little bit small. I'm kind of wanting to get into some bigger subjects. Okay, so maybe is it possible that I could just bring back and return that printer and get something bigger? Right? Hey, win-win, you guys get more money, right? I mean, why not? Well, they ignored that part, and they just said, okay, click on this to start the process of getting there. So I had to several times say, okay, well, but you're not answering my question. Yeah, you got the first part, but I'm asking, can you do this? They never answered. Basically, they just say, good news, your replacement part is on the way. I'm like, okay, but what about the original question? So horrible customer service, to the point where I'm either going to sell this or have it as a backup, because it is a good printer and it works well. But I definitely want to get into some bigger subjects. So, obviously, that is not the anycubic behind there. That is where we took a lot of suggestions, and it's the Elegoo Mars Ultra 16K. So let's talk a little bit about that puppy. It's been great. Not as good as some other people have had with like, oh, never had any problems and all this. I've had problems. Some different errors popping up, some different fails coming on, being very finicky with a few things. The app has been kind of a bit hit and miss, and being able to do some of the same features that I could do with anycubic has been a little bit lacking. But it's been enjoyable. I've been having that thing pretty much printing 24/7 and been really pleased with the results. Now, some of you, when you look at it, there's a lot of gimmicks, to be honest. There's all sorts of things like the 16K. Is it worth it? Watch a bunch of videos on it. I mean, it's a itty bit better than some of the other lower end versions. The webcam is kind of cool, but it's supposed to do time lapse, and I haven't been able to get that to do anything, so that's kind of a bummer. The light in there, I'm suspicious if it's actually has the wrong wavelength and actually is curing some stuff. So that's been interesting. But one thing that I've definitely enjoyed is the heated vat. That's the main reason that I paid more, and it was like in the end like $50 more, so I'm like, whatever. Give me the top line for that size. So there is that. So the other problem that I had initially had nothing to do at all with the Elegoo. It had purely to do with the resin. So I don't know why this was a great idea. Like, oh, well, I've got a clean tray and everything. Let's put in some of this new resin that I got. So I got some Logic resin, some kind of water washable and everything. They had a really good deal. So I got like 5 kilograms of it for like $50. It was a pretty smoking deal. Oh, but boy, has it been trash. So there's all sorts of like grittiness with it, like a partially exposed and makes it look like there's just flour in there that you have to wash off. There's a lot of stuff that's, even though you try to wash it off as best as you can, you kind of also still need to have alcohol to finish it off. Otherwise, you have this kind of white residue that comes on it, which it's not the end of the world. This has that, and just put some primer over it. It's not really a problem, but I'm curious if any of the details are a little bit subdued because of that. So that's a bit of a thing. Also, weird things were happening, and that's where I got curious with the camera light, because I had cured resin on top of the build plate, which is supposed to never happen. You've got some, protective covering, so if you do have UV that's happening in the room, that should prevent it from being there. So I have no clue. My guess is that it's got like a wide range of UV exposure capability, which can be good, but can be also horrific, because maybe just my regular lights in here started setting off just a little bit, and not fast, but just enough to where there was like this film over the whole thing. Also on the build plate, as it goes up and down, you'll have these drippy bits with all the resin, and that's perfectly fine. Unless with that, it cures. So I thought it was just drippies and all that, but it made the next print fail because it was actually solid drippies. Horrible, horrible stuff. So I just completely purged the whole system of having anything on there and got some better resin, and much better. So right now I'm using the Elegoo water washable 2.0. I also got some of the 8K, and I'm going to see if that stuff's any better. So about some of the other things that I've been printing, which have made this really worthwhile. I thought I wasn't going to use it very much because of just little wheels and stuff, which, how often do I finish a build? How's that going to be real worth it? But like I said, I've been printing nonstop. One of the big things is sci-fi. So I'm working on, this is my first go at it, is Star Wars Y-Wing, and it's from a guy, Alain Rivard, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So bunch of different pieces. So the people that think, 3D printing, it's just lazy, all you do is just print and it's one part, and it's not real modeling. Well, this thing, as you can see, is a bunch of different parts that make it up, hence the different colors and all that. Probably something like 50 different parts that this goes together. And yeah, so the next iteration I'm going to fix a few things. The LED lights on here, didn't quite work all the way, so I'm going to try a different method, because I'm going to have the instrument panel kind of light up, some blinking lights, some different colored lights, have a lot of excitement going on in there. The engines have LEDs, so that's going to be fun there. All going down the post to fit that up to some kind of base, which will be a problem for later Cameron. So that's been really cool. Right now it's printing off some Star Wars X-Wing stuff at about a 35 scale. There's a 48 scale. And so this is pretty big, and I think the X-Wing at 35 scale is pretty much the extreme that you can have with this mid-size printer. With the anycubic, really I had to chop the X-Wing to actually get it to fit. The Y-Wing is a little bit special because probably the biggest part of it is just this head. Everything else is kind of smaller chunks, maybe this part of the nacelle, but it goes together based off of a lot of smaller parts. So I might even be able to do studio scale with this at a certain point, but that's pretty big. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, suggestions. I'll put a little bit of a few photos here at the end of some of my current builds and prints, so you can kind of see what quality I am at. And as always, if you thought this was beneficial, like and subscribe, make a few comments down there, help out my channel. We'll see you in the next one. The other thing that I added initially was very much not... Whatever. I just went and whacked some stuff. It's okay.